So tell us about that. We just got a great family folk remedy from Mom that Donna taught her. So, Mom, you want to repeat what that is?
Yeah, it's almost completely gone.
Put in, if you spill something on your shirt or whatever, and you put an ice cube on it right away. Donna taught me that. You put it on an ice cube on it right away, and then
Dab it.
dab it every now and then.
It's totally gone.
It won't stain. The stain will go away, but you gotta catch it before it dries, or it's too late.
Even blood.
Blood,
even blood.
yes.
So
especially
I
blood.
could really clean up the crime scene when I
No, you're
get
gonna
mad
leave
at my
DNA
son
all
and
over
finally
it.
have it out with him.
You're gonna leave DNA all over, dumbass.
Oh, he could take you so easy.
Want to bet? Watch.
You keep turning that thing off.
No, I'm bouncing around like we're fighting.
Man, editing.
Oh.
All right, next question.
Alright, so we made it up to,
All right.
what, 1950s, Korea?
Okay, let's so hey, here's a good one, all right? Did you ever feel hold on, let me get another shot here. Director's pause.
Did you know a bunch of people that were drafted into World War II?
Did I know what?
People who were around where you lived in California
Were drafted?
during World War II.
And didn't come home?
Uh,
Neighbors, that kind of thing? Because I remember in Vietnam,
Yeah, you always told me that.
we would always watch Walter Cronkite on Channel 3, CBS News, and the first thing he showed every night were the coffins coming off the airplanes, the military jets, bringing the bodies home of the
Yeah.
fallen. And we remember how sad it was. Nobody ever said anything. We just sat there and stared. It was body after body after body after body, plane after plane.
Yeah.
And in today's day, they banned that from being in the press. George Bush did that, starting with Iraq. Not his father, but the second Bush.
Downfall of the Republic.
So anyhow, the bottom line is I remember being in Davenport and hearing about so-and-so's brother was killed the other day, that kind of thing occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was just sad hearing that, and I think about my family and like, man, we had to go.
So I was just wondering if you had, like, your brother had any friends or something that didn't come back. So you said he was 18 at the time.
Well, he was
Or
18.
around the time. I mean, he was like.
I don't know. I don't know of any.
How the
that
war
didn't-
hits home.
Because his friends were. The war was over when they all went in.
Oh yeah, that's right. You said that. 'Cause he
See,
wasn't
they
18
were-
That's
until
right,
BJ
okay.
Day. or
They were
whatever, so-
18. Yeah.
Okay, let's go on a different topic. The different topic is this. Were you ever jealous of other women
No,
when it
she-
came to
she
my
was-
father, Franklin?
She was the dater,
Well, yeah.
according to her stories.
Yeah, she was the one in charge. Chick's in charge of this situation. So.
When he was over there, she was going on.
No,
dates
were
with
you ever
guys.
jealous of Dad in any way?
Oh, you mean of
Other
if,
women.
if other women, if he
Did
was
you ever
dating
feel
other
jealousy in your life?
women? Did I?
In your love life?
No, actually.
Did you ever have a boyfriend dump you?
Did I ever have a boyfriend dump me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about them.
When I was in high school.
So what? What did
Well-
they turn into? That's what I want to know.
That's how I met Dad.
Okay, how did you
My-
meet Dad?
Okay. Carl was born in Davenport, Iowa, and he lived in a house that was catty-corner from St. Mary's School, across the corner from St. Mary's School.
Okay.
But he went to the public schools. I went to the Catholic schools. But I always knew who he was because he lived there and
Yeah, he lived across kitty corner from the school.
Yeah.
Your school.
Yeah.
But he went to the public school.
he went to the public school, which was
And
about.
so you guys would cross paths maybe on the way home?
Oh, we would. I always knew who he was. He'd
Okay.
play with my friends who also lived in that block,
In that
but
area,
who
okay.
did go to the Catholic schools. But
Okay.
he'd play with them,
So,
so I knew who he was, and he knew who I was. So one day, but then when he was a teenager, he moved to Detroit because his father had died and his mother was alone, and his sister lived in Detroit with her husband. So he moved, his mother moved to Detroit, and he had, of course, moved with his mother because he was
Yeah.
he was a teenager. Well, he went to St. Teresa's School in Detroit for 3 years, and he joined the church then. Uh, because the reason he went to St. Teresa's School was because he lived across that school in Detroit, and it was easier for his mom to keep an eye on him and his sister, and
Across
so
the
they
street.
sent him to the Catholic school, and while he was there, he
I see a
decided
pattern here.
huh?
I see a pattern here.
Yeah, he decided to join the church, and so he made his baptism and first communion and all the sacraments while he was in high school. Then in his senior year, his mother moved back to Davenport because his brother bought a duplex and wanted to live downstairs on the duplex, and Carl and his mom upstairs. So they moved back to Davenport. So his mother sent him to the Catholic boys' school, St.
St.
Ambrose
Mary's.
Academy.
Say that, brother.
Oh.
St. Ambrose Academy, because she liked what he was learning in the Catholic school in
He
Detroit.
was doing better, yeah.
So she sent him. So it so happened that my younger brother, who was a year behind me in school,
Chuck.
Chuck, was in the same gym class at this boys' school, at St. Ambrose Academy, not St. Ambrose College now. It's St. Ambrose Academy.
Yeah.
So he
Still high school. Okay.
he went to they were in the same gym class, and he said, "Hey, Carl, are you going to prom?" And Carl said, "This is an all-boys school. I don't know any girls. How am I going to go to prom?" And Chuck said, "Why don't you take my sister?" And he said, "Oh, she goes with Frank." And Chuck said, "No, they broke up."
Frank.
Frank
Frank is the first. Okay, so we got a
Frank
Frank in the
Testro.
mix here.
Frank Testro.
Okay, whatever happened to Frank?
He was a chemist. He majored in chemistry in college, and then he ended up getting married, but he died young, in his 50s.
Why'd you break up?
He broke up with me.
That.
Oh, I bet you that hurt.
Oh man, you telling me it hurt. No wonder my brother's desperate to get me a date.
Well, I've been there and done that a few times, so I can relate totally.
Yes, he did.
So that's how you met it, by taking you to prom for the first
Yes,
day.
and then when he called me up to ask me if I'd go to prom with him, which was in a couple weeks, and I said sure. And then he said, "Why don't we go out to a movie this weekend and get to know each other before prom?"
Ooh, smooth
So
move,
we went.
Carl.
So we went
Slick
to
Carl.
a movie. We
He's
went
working
to the
it
movie,
there, boy. He's more than interested.
and we saw. Oh, now I can't say the name of the movie, and I know the name of the movie. It was about these two guys in a foxhole, and the movie was based on a cartoon that ran in the paper through the whole war.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of the cartoon, though.
Something about.
They were just always had discussions for the foxhole, jokes back and forth and stuff.
Yes.
The two army guys.
So anyhow,
Yeah.
that was the movie we went to, and we saw.
Okay.
And then when he took me afterwards over to the Bolodrome to get some ice cream, he put a quarter or a nickel in the jukebox, and he showed me how to dance to Charleston.
You're kidding me.
No, your dad.
My dad?
Your dad could dance to Charleston really
So
good.
that's where Macy gets it.
It was yeah, he really was good at it, and he taught me how to Charleston.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
that's
the rest is
interesting.
history.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, let's see, what else?
So we had a great senior. It was my senior year, or his senior year, my junior year.
Okay, when I said earlier, I see a pattern here with the schools right across the street. Is that why you bought 923 West Central Park?
No,
Right
we
across from the high school?
No,
Where
we
you can spy on us?
No, but it worked.
It sure did.
He
Why
was-
don't you tell the story? Mike, I got your back here, buddy. Ready? I remember there was two Mike Mooneys that went to Assumption High School.
Yeah,
And they called you by mistake one day and said Mike had skipped school.
yeah.
and it turned out to be the other Mike Mooney.
I don't think so.
Well, I remember this story distinctly, and I remember you apologizing to Mike because he did go to school that day,
Okay.
and they made a mistake and called you the next day to make it square. The office did. Now, is it true that you used to have binoculars looking for Mike to run away from school?
I didn't need binoculars. I had a great view, and I could tell when the kids would sneak out the back door and go over to the creek, and they would sneak out, and I could see, but I could recognize Mike. Come on, he was real tall and skinny, and
Skinny, that's right. Okay, well, I just was wondering. Let's see, what else? All right, let's talk folklore, conspiracies in the Mooney family. I can't think of the right word for it. All right, let's just get to the bottom of it. Was Joe adopted?
No.
I can't let that one go without bringing it up because we
No.
used to kid Joe that he was adopted and he used to get sad and everything. Well, look, you got blonde hair.
He used to tell us that. No, Joe was not adopted.
Okay.
I'll tell you the night he was born.
Okay, tell us about that.
It was Christmas Eve, and we always went over to my mom and dad's on Christmas Eve for a Christmas party. And she'd make sloppy joes. And
To this day, I haven't got the perfect recipe, but go ahead.
and she'd make sloppy joes, and all the cousins would come that lived in the area. Some were from Denver, and some were from California, but those that lived in Davenport and Rock Island, they all came to my mom's or my mom and dad's. And I was in labor all day.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have a drink with my dad before I went to the hospital. And of course, my father, he's smart. He knows, you shouldn't have liquor if you're going to have
Go give a
anesthetic.
baby, yeah.
So, but he did make me a drink, a Manhattan, but it was mostly Manhattan juice with a little shot in it, And then Sister Barb was there. Now, Sister Barb never was allowed out after 6 o'clock at her order.
Yeah.
Never was allowed after 6 o'clock. They had to be home at 6 o'clock.
What kind of nun was she?
Oh, humility. Sister
Nuns
of humility. Yeah. So she lived up at St. Vincent's, up the road from us.
Yeah.
And she could see my mother's house from there, but she couldn't ever come for, after 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was in the 60s when the Vatican changed a lot of the rules.
Yeah.
And the nuns started going back to their regular names. She was Sister John Vianney, then she became Sister Barb Costello.
Okay.
And they could go back to their own clothing instead of having to wear a habit.
Yeah.
They always had to have that habit.
Yeah, I remember the pictures and everything.
And so she came over she was there. And you've probably seen that picture of everybody with a St. Pius cap.
Yep, yeah.
Okay, she was the principal at St. Pius in Rock Island.
School, yeah.
Yeah. And so she got everybody one of those caps.
I remember that she made us all Christmas dinner one time.
One time, yes.
And it was the longest football game ever. She promised she wouldn't serve dinner until after the football game ended, and it was the longest football game ever in history.
It's right.
It went on like 5 hours. Yeah, and then she kept to her word. She waited till the end of the football game.
Yeah,
Everybody was starving by then, though.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that, and it was really dark out when we left.
But anyhow, at that Christmas Eve night, she said, I was really having hard labor then, and so she said, take her to the hospital, Carl. I will take your kids home and put them to bed. And so he could go to the hospital with me.
Yeah.
And so he took me to the hospital, and she took all the kids home. When the party was over at my mother's, she took all the kids home and put them to bed. And she crawled in under the bed, under the lower level of Carrie's bunk bed.
Yeah.
Carrie had a
So
bunk
she stayed there till
and
his
she
dad
slept
came
there
home.
till the next morning. But when Carl came home from the hospital with the news that I had the baby,
Yeah.
she helped him set up the tree, put the dollhouse together under the tree,
Oh, wow, cool.
all that stuff,
Yeah.
because we had millions of toys there.
Yeah.
And so she helped Carl put all that up.
All that stuff.
And then
together.
they got up early in the morning and went to the Christmas Mass, which was like at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh my God.
And I remember driving by the hospital, and I was on the 3rd floor of the hospital, and Carl told you, there's Mom up there, and I waved to them.
Yeah, that's right.
You're
I
all in the
remember
car. And then I got the flu. I got the Hong Kong flu.
that. Yeah.
And Donna had brought it home from school.
Hong Kong flu?
The Hong Kong flu. That was another one of those pandemics like we had. And I got the Hong Kong flu. Donna had it. They had some of it in Holy Family
Yeah.
grade school. And
Yeah.
Donna came home with it one time,
Okay.
a couple weeks before Christmas. And so I woke up with the Hong Kong flu after Joe was born, and they wouldn't let me have my baby. They would stand outside my door and hold him up and say, "Isn't he pretty?"
Oh, so that
They wouldn't let me-
explains a lot.
Yeah, so they didn't let me hold him
Ah,
until I got over the
Underlying
flu.
issues.
Yeah.
They didn't let me hold him until I got over the flu, which took about 3 days.
Probably a good thing.
And
This
I
is
would,
pretty
I didn't, but
insightful.
I couldn't go home until New Year's Eve.
Holy cow, that's
You-
a week.
Yes, because I had the flu and they wouldn't let you go
Oh
until
my
you got no
God.
fever or anything left.
Wow.
So I didn't get to go home until New Year's Eve.
Okay.
But that explains a lot.
Didn't,
Oh, he sure does about Joe.
He was
I had to
not
put that in
adopted.
there.
He was not adopted.
All right. We got that cleared up, everybody. All right.
when was Joe born?
68.
68. And when Joe was being born, and I was in the labor room, we were all watching the television because it was the first time that the astronauts walked on, or
Orbiting?
flew on the other side of the moon.
It was Apollo 10
They
and
didn't
9.
know. They didn't know what they were going to find because
Oh, I
nobody
know
had
the
ever
big
done
mystery.
that.
What's on the dark side of the moon and
Do
all
you remember
that.
which Apollo mission that was?
It was what?
Do you remember which Apollo mission
Yeah,
it
and
was?
it was like 8 or 7 or something. Had to be.
What, 8 or 7 what?
That mission where they just orbited. They didn't land